Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the channel and another video. Finally, I'm releasing a video after a long time of being missing. Some of you are probably wondering where I have been. So this is just a life update video. Those of you who came to this video expecting some airsoft goodies and stuff, sorry, this is not that video. This is literally just going to be me waffling on for a very long time. Because we have had some interest of people asking us how we're doing. Obviously that's very nice. We're very happy about that. But I haven't really shared anything regarding my life and how things have been, so I thought I'd do a video just to let some of the subscribers who were wondering where I've been and what I've been doing. So this is just that video to satisfy some of those curiosities that any of you had. So I'm going to start from the beginning, what happened when we left. As some of you may know, a couple of years ago, I had a business venture that went sour. Unfortunately, this ended up in me losing a lot of my belongings and personal possessions. My business was dissolved. And because I lived in the flat above my business and I had to vacate the building, I lost my place of stay as well. My closest friends did say to me, "So what are you going to do now?" When something like that happens in your life, you have a few choices. You could either get a job, a different job, and move on, work your way up the ladder, and to start again. That's exactly what I did, except this time, what I decided to do was I decided to move to another country. That country happened to be Hong Kong. Some of you who follow the channel also commented that my location had changed. They said, surely you have to be in England. And that's the explanation for that. That's why our location changed. So the first thing I did was I obviously looked for a job. Now, it was a very, very different setting to me. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Hong Kong or know much about it, but it is more like a very, very large city with some places being very underdeveloped and some places being very, shall we say, business orientated. But whichever way you look at it, Hong Kong does provide a lot of opportunities for many, many people. It was a very big change for me because I grew up in the countryside, always enjoying nature as I grew up. And I was a very outdoor kid, enjoying activities such as fishing, hiking, and mountain biking in the forests and things like that. So you can imagine my shock when I went to Hong Kong and I realized that to find a patch of grass, it was very, very difficult. Not to mention that the weather was about 38 degrees C and the humidity was insane. I mean, I've never felt anything like it before. Anyway, I was checking some job sites when I arrived over there, and there was a lot of big companies and businesses in a place called Central. So that's exactly where I sent my applications to. I had probably sent off about 30 different applications to different jobs, and I got one reply, one from a new startup company that had only been in the game for less than 5 years, but were already internationally renowned. So they invited me for an interview. I went in, and the interviewers were very intrigued by why I had applied to this company. So I told them the story of what had happened to me so far, and they said, "Wow, that is a big change coming over to a place like this." And I said, "Yes, it is." To put things in perspective, my qualifications were absolutely not for that job. It would be like applying for a job as a lifeguard when you were an office worker for the past 15 years. But I guess they enjoyed talking to me because they invited me back for a second interview. But this second interview was something that I've never experienced before. Firstly, the person that phoned me said, "When you come in for your second interview, what I would like you to do is give a presentation to a board." And I said, "Okay, what kind of board?" And he said, "The CEO's going to be there. What you're going to do is you're going to try and sell him something. We'll give you the topic of what you have to sell, and the only requirement is that he will want to buy it at the end of your presentation." And I said, "Okay, how long do I have?" They gave me 7 days in which I used to practice a couple of times and go shopping for some better formal clothes. I guess this is where we talk about if you are qualified for something, then you work your way up the ladder into a job. Or if you can provide a service for someone, the person who needs that service will obviously look for you. And I guess that's what happened. So during the interview, I went in, gave my presentation, and apparently they were very pleased with my work. After the presentation, I received another interview with the CEO and the head of a department. And they started asking a lot of very interesting questions. I'll give you an example. The head of department asked me what I majored in, and I said I didn't go to university. So they said, "So what did you do during the times of when you were 18 until 22? And I told them that I joined the British Armed Forces, which they were very intrigued about, and they asked me more about that. I told them about my experience, what I had done, and they said, "Yeah, that's fine. We'll just tick that one off. It'll be absolutely fine." And I was thinking, great, I didn't think it was an absolute requirement to have gone to university for a job like this. And they said, "Well, you're working in an office environment in a corporate setting, so it would help. But we like what we see. You seem to be very down to earth and we're interested in you." Then the CEO asked me a very, very interesting question. He said, there is one question that I would like you to answer just to see how your mind works. So I said, shoot. So he brings out a drinks bottle and he says, in this bottle, I have an element. Let's call it element X. I said, okay. Element X doubles every minute. In 1 hour, this bottle is completely filled with element X. So at what point was the bottle a quarter filled? So I sat there for literally about 3 seconds and I said, this is a trick question. And he was quite surprised. He said, why? And I said, because when you think of something that grows, you're going to think of a graph. So let's pretend this is a graph. And I actually did this on the whiteboard in the meeting room with him. I said, you're expecting a graph and a line going like this because it doubles every minute. But if something doubles, the graph is never linear. It will go like this, come from here, go along here, double, and then shoot up into sky high and then just keep getting bigger. And he laughed. He smiled and he laughed and he said, right, so when was it a quarter filled? And I said, well, if it was a minute to double, half of a full one going backwards would be the 59th minute. And halving that for a quarter would be the 58th minute. You would have expected it to be somewhere near the halfway line or the quarter line or whatever, but it won't be. And then he clapped and then he said, well done. No one's ever answered that before. And I said, so why did you ask it? And he said, just for fun, just to see how you work. But I'm quite pleased with what we've seen here. So I'm just going to tell you that you've got the job. And right there and then, I've never worked in an office before, but I got a job. The head of the department did say, the reason we've put you through a couple of more interviews is because you came here to work in operations. And I said, yes. And that's quite a rigorous way of getting into a business. But then the head of department said, well, actually, what we actually want you for is for the corporate office instead of operations. How do you think about that? And I said, well, I don't know. It's quite surprising. I said, I was quite frank. I needed money due to my circumstances. And I said, what's the money like? And the head of department laughed and said, it's a lot better. So they gave me a figure and I was saying, wow, first I need to know if I can do the job because I've never worked in an office before, okay? It's always been like a workshop or something. So they explained the role to me, which was very different to what I've known. They said, you're going to have to learn a few programs, you're going to have to learn a few things very quickly, and you're going to have to improve on some things exponentially if you can. And how about this? We'll give you 3 months as a probational period. You see if you like the job. If you like it, you do, you stay. And then you learn a few things and then you progress. If you don't, you can just call it quits. You gave it a chance and then, And the head of department said, I want you working in my team under me. And at that point, that was it. That I had a mentor. That really, really helped. It was kind of like a big surprise to me because I didn't think I could have got a career that would take off like that straight away. I thought, it's time to start doing something else. We're going to completely change job titles and we're going to work way up the ladder from the bottom. But they threw me in a very good role, which I really, really didn't deserve straight away. But they placed me, I got the money, and I was incredibly happy about it. So as you can imagine, I spent the first few months really, really getting to grips with how an office setting works, the kind of politics, how one would behave in an office. And I really learned a lot. I used my time in that office to really, really try and learn more about a startup company, about a business, how things work, because let's face it, what I learned back in the days was pretty out of date. So all of this new technology and very, very new way of doing things was an eye-opener for me. I learned a lot and I progressed. I will say, though, that I really did not like the office setting. There's just things that I will never understand, as in, obviously, the politics and just the general way of life. For me, it was office during the day, taking the office work home at night and working it at night. And it was just very, very difficult for me to get to grips with that. Bearing in mind, I'm working in a whole new country, doing a completely different job than I'm used to, working in a setting that I have absolutely no experience in, and in a sense, just taking home money for learning, really. So as you can imagine, after a few months of doing that, I decided it was time for me to move on. We had a big leaving due, and then I went on my way. Now, some of you might think that it was quite foolish of me to leave before I actually found a new job, but I thought with the new experience and knowledge I had, I could go out and do a lot of things. So I did. One of the things that you guys will notice was I opened an online store selling some collectible items and some airsoft BBs as well. we thought it would be a really good idea to go out there in the market and brand ourselves. So we did. We got our very own brand AIRSOFT BBs, which we started selling on our website. The most popular ones in weight were the 0.4 grams and the 0.45 grams, I think it was. We also started selling them locally, which was a big help for me because I really needed the money. And that really got the ball rolling for online business and selling things. So it was quite exciting and daunting at the same time. It's an experience that I would enjoy doing again. But anyway, I decided it was time for me to get a new job. And chance had it that as I was passing a building, they were hiring chefs. So I had a look at the advert and it said it was hiring chefs of all calibers, which was perfect for me because my caliber would be very low because I've never been a chef before. But they wanted section heads, they wanted CDPs, and they wanted demi-chefs as well. So I sent my resume in and surely enough, I got a reply. They asked me to go to their head office for an interview. So I did. So I went into the head office and they said, right, the first things you need are a medical, you also need a uniform, and you also need to be inducted. And I said, okay, what about my experience? And they said, well, that's for you to tell me about, what kind of experience have you had? And I was very careful with my words. I wanted to be honest, but I did not let them know that I had not really cooked anything before. So I said to them, yeah, I'm very interested in this subject of cooking. I'm also very hardworking. I basically sold myself. For that, they gave me an interview. So I went in on a different date to see the sous chef. And he started speaking to me, who was French, by the way. And he said, look, I don't want to sell you a dream job, but you got to understand that we work at a pretty high caliber over here. Okay, it's a first-class kitchen. And what we're going to be doing is providing fine dining very quickly. And I said, sure, I'm down, sign me up. And he said, right, sent me off to his medical, had some x-rays done, and that was it. Within a couple of weeks, I was hired. And my first day in the kitchen was a nightmare. I went inside, one of the section heads told me to cut and marinate a certain thing. I tried holding a knife and cutting things, and he immediately said, why have you cut those like that? And I said, it's obvious that I don't know how to hold a knife. Now, this could have gone two ways. He could have said, you're not fit for your job, get out. But instead, he actually came over to help me. He came around to my section and started showing me exactly how to hold the knife and how to cut things. And he said, in your position, you really should already know this. And I said, yes, I know. I'm thanking you very much for this. I'm sure once I learn how to do everything properly, I can work at much higher capacity. Thank you very much. So the group of chefs I was working with were very willing to teach someone who had no experience whatsoever so I could be part of the team. And that's what I did. I started putting myself to the work, keeping my head down, doing what I need to do. I kept a notebook also, which had all the recipes and everything which they were teaching me and the process of everything and any tips I needed to keep. But it was very stressful. I can tell you that working in a kitchen environment is very stressful. There's the hygiene, the cleanliness, the speed at which you have to work, the sheer volume of work you have to do. And at the end of the day, when you're absolutely burnt out, you have to go again after a short sleep. And that's how it went on. The one thing I did like about this chef job was that I started to be in charge of my own section in the kitchen, which was very good. Not because I'm so good at being a chef that they promoted me. It's because everyone else started leaving. So we had 5 chefs. In the end, there were 4, another 2 left, and then there was me and someone else. 2 of us was in charge of one small kitchen, and it was insane, the sheer workload. But we managed to think of a way to work through everything so that we could do everything on time and to the high standards that they required. This also meant that I learned how to run a kitchen, which is where it took me next in life. See, I didn't really want to go back to a workshop, and I didn't really want to go back to an office. In fact, I never want to work in an office again. I really did not like the corporate setting. I mean, it was fine because you get the food, the dining. You can go to restaurants all paid for by the company. You also get free taxi rides everywhere. They give you a MacBook. They give you all the equipment you need. You literally are given an insane amount of equipment so that you can do your job efficiently. The only thing you don't have is your life. Your entire life is engrossed to do with the company. It's all the corporate company and everything has to do with that. I have been told by Hong Kongers that there is no work-life balance over there, so that's pretty standard. But that doesn't stop me from disliking it. But anyway, with this chef job, I managed to learn all the new recipes, and there was nothing better for me than to make something food-wise and really enjoy it. So let's say you have, I don't know, like a cheesecake, or you have, let's say, a steak with red wine on something. Normally you'd have to go to a restaurant and pay maybe hundreds of dollars for something like that. Well, I could do it at home now, and I love that because I'm a bit of a foodie. So with all the money I saved up doing the corporate job and the chef job and also the online business I had running, I started to save everything together. And I did that for as long as I could. I saved up as much as I could. I didn't do anything that was unnecessary. I didn't buy anything that was unnecessary. And I really, really saved up everything as I could. And after that, the coronavirus hit. When that happened, no one came to restaurants anymore and they began firing people. I was one of the last people there, and they actually gave me the choice to stay, but I said it's time for me to move on because I'm working in an environment where there's only 3 customers per day, and I'm sorry, but it's time for me to move on. It just so happens that I phoned up my old landlord just to make sure he was okay. And he said, after you left, I had to try and sell the building. And there were a few interested buyers, but the deals fell through. They just won't pay what I'm asking for it, which I know what it's worth. And I said, that is a shame, I'm very sorry to hear that. And he asked how I was doing. And I said, well, I've saved up a bit of money. And he did ask me, are you interested in buying a building at all? And I had the bright idea of, if I buy this building, maybe I can turn it into a fast food joint. So we got to talking on the phone a couple of times and we worked out a deal. I had saved up enough for a deposit to buy the property, and my old landlord was willing to sell at a very good price. And that's exactly what I did. So I came back to the UK, and this is where I am now. We're actually living in the building now. I spent the first couple of months decorating this place, but I'm just going to show you what the office looks like so far. So this is the office here. Oh, let me just get that in focus. That's what my work desk looks like so far. I don't have many tools yet because obviously I haven't bought back everything and I need more equipment. But this is the office setup so far. We've got some plants on the top there. I'm quite happy about that. My printer and laminator. Obviously some BBs, some flashlights and gadgets and stuff. But this is all going to be set up differently later once I get the money. So yeah, this is how we're running everything at the moment. And we've converted downstairs, the building downstairs, into a kitchen, which is a fast food joint. It has taken a few months to get set up correctly, but this is exactly how my life has panned out in the past couple of years. I can tell you that I've lost a lot of weight due to some of the stress that I have endured, but right now we're back on top, or should I say we're climbing back up there. And I'm very happy to be where I am right now. I will have to say though, I may not be able to do so many airsoft videos yet. Obviously we're still working on a kitchen. We're trying to renovate the place. There's a lot of work that this building needs to make sure it's a fully functional kitchen. But if there is a chance that I can record some videos of some new stuff, and if anything interesting that catches my eye comes to the market and I can afford it, mind you, bearing in mind I also have to save up for a car now. But I thought I'd share this story with you just so everyone knows, what's going on, what's happened in your life. Everything's looking up. I'm really happy. I would say I'm doing quite well, and I'm very happy to have come back from hitting rock bottom. Oh, I didn't tell you where I lived in Hong Kong. I had a friend out there, and they gave me free boarding. Free as in, you just do some chores, you just clean the place up, you just make sure everything's running fine. Don't worry about anything. You can live here until you get sorted. That was pretty much the deal. And without that, I would not have survived over there in Asia, because I didn't really know this, but when I got out there, I had a look at the living costs, especially the rent, or if you decide to buy a property, it's insane. Let me just put something in perspective to those of you who don't know. If you were to buy, let's say, a 2-bedroom house in England, it would probably cost you, let's say, anywhere from 80,000, depending on where you live. Obviously there's ranging prices, but let's say 80,000 to 150,000. That would be the price of in British pounds. You would have to pay probably about 500,000 pounds for a smaller size building over there, and that is astronomical. The prices are insane. It is absolutely insane. I mean, rent's insane as well. I mean, well, just take it from me, it's about 4 times the rent of anywhere else. So I'm really grateful, I really am, to everyone that helped me, supporters of the channel. You guys, I mean, you were great. I was getting lots of comments. People were worried. Where are you? What are you doing? Are you okay? Just want to make sure because you hit rock bottom, you lost your business, and you kind of lost all your belongings. Just want to make sure you're okay. I'm really grateful for those comments. Thanks, guys. Really, it really did hit me hard. I felt so much from those comments. Thank you so much. It lets me know people care. And I hope this video kind of gives you some insight into my life, what happened, you know, how things are rolling with me. I'm just really grateful to be where I am right now, and I couldn't have done it without help from people around me. Support was online, so thank you so much. I really am very, very happy for that. So that's it, folks. That's this video here. It's really, really crazy, mega long. Don't mind the adverts. Sorry about that. You know, I got to make a living. I got to try and claw back some money, and I really want a car, actually. You know, any car. I'm not saying like, hey, you know, we're back in business, let's buy a Porsche or something. I just want any old car. Any beat up old rusty crap wagon that I can drive right now would be great. So I'm gonna save up for that, and then more tools, and then get this place sorted. When you have a business of yourself, like we used to have a workshop, you can organize things and do things your way, to your timetable. And that's one of the best things about having a business, is that you haven't got someone riding you all the time. You know, when is this project going to be finished? You can kind of organize that yourself when you're working for yourself, obviously. The good thing about us is we're small capacity. We're like a machine. We do a little to pump out a lot, and that kind of keeps things going. And that's just really, really fun right now. But, you know, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for the support, for the continued support you guys have given me. I really appreciate it. So that's me. I guess I'll see you next time whenever I do a video. And thank you very much. Take care, everyone, and be safe, okay?